is well back in
Yeah,
fashion.
definitely.
The
Yeah, you see,
the Wilkin try was a bit of a wraparound, wasn't it? And
yeah,
so was one of the Huddersfield tries.
yeah, and I think you've seen a couple come out of scrum moves as well. So there's a couple that are trying that kind of drifting behind slightly as a off the scrum move to try and bring in that extra forward.
Yeah, there's a few trends being seen across the league this season so far. Um, I mean I don't have a lot more to say on this one, so let's move on to one where we've got a few fan reviews as well on this one, and it was Friday night's televised game. I was there, I was freezing, my feet turned into solid blocks, and it was Warrington Wolves 16, Wigan Warriors 10 in front of 12,012, refereed by Ben Thaler, who I'm sure will get a mention as we talk more about this game. Shall we take these in alternate? So I'll give us Wire Joe's
Yep.
first. He said, even though Wigan looked sluggish and off the pace, I think it was the most well-controlled game that I've seen us, that being Wire, play for a long time. We didn't try to force plays that were never on, which was our downfall last year. We still have a way to go to get our attack really firing, but you can't beat a win over the Pies.
Fat boy Rob said Wigan looked knackered and organised an attack, but defended well and did well to stay in touch and keep it entertaining. Failer got a couple of calls wrong in Wire's favour, including missing Escaray getting his head taken off when fielding a high ball. Luckily, Rat Boy was there to tell him where he went wrong. He's going to be a top
Well, he
ref
didn't
one day.
listen to him. Lee Whitnell said, got kissed on the dick with this fixture. Wigan players look jet lagged, and no matter what Sean Wade says. Some good individual performances across the board for the Wire, but Kev Brown continues to be a weak link. 2 points in the bag and something to build on.
Yep, Phil Nadin said Warrington started much better with more passion and desire. Wigan just didn't have composure and didn't really threaten the Wolves' try line for 3/4 of the game. But at the end, when they did, Warrington showed a weakness that I think the other sides will use against them, and they got a little flustered, lost their composure and their nerve.
Yeah, and at Swiss underscore cowboy underscore 78, get around our European friend there. He said the Wire should have won by 20. Wigan missed the start of the game. The best man on the field was the ref. Really good performance and man management. Hashtag no ref's fault. Well, before we talk a little bit more potentially about jet lag and ref's fault and beyond, do you want to go through the team
Yep, the
stats?
efficiency numbers show the dominance of Warrington in the game. 1.4 metres per carry, better average gain, and 2.3% better tackle success. Wire had 310 more total metres in the game. That's had the most metres of any so far in the season after just the 4 rounds of fixtures. Though their attack is still finding its way through the ground they made. Wigan made more breaks, 6-5, and the 18 total errors would please both coaches, the lowest of the season so far, and the first time neither side had double figures in any 2018 Super League game. This despite having the most joint offloads, or the joint most.
Yeah, individually, Mike Cooper was big for the forward pack for Warrington Wolves. 42 tackles, no missed tackles, 166 metres. Darrell Clark had 41 tackles and 126 metres darting out a dummy half for over 10 metres per carry as well. He went on there. Stefan Ratchford 161 metres. Bryson Goodwin 5 tackle busts, 149 metres, 4 successful offloads. For Wigan, my main man Liam Farrell had 46 tackles, 15 marker tackles, and 110 metres. He worked really hard and scored a ton of fantasy points. John Bateman, 157 metres and 4 successful offloads, but probably 0 passes to his winger, who was Tom Davies, who did, in spite of a lack of service, get 113 metres. George Williams with a try assist and 5 successful offloads, a big number for George that contributed to this having a big offload total.
Yes, there's a few talking points that came out of this one. Not least of which was, if you're watching on Sky, was John Wells's beard. He's joined the Beard Club.
Yeah, he walked across the front of the away stand to go and do his bit at half time. He's rocking a full beard, but kind of a bit hobo-y at this stage.
He's not got into the products
He
and the
hasn't quite
grooming.
brought it
Yeah.
in yet. Yeah.
Also, did they really need the Wolves? I'm not sure if that was they were quite really added to anything. It looked a bit
Well,
unnecessary.
when they do the light show at the start, I was terrified. I didn't know if wolves could get epilepsy or anything like that, but I was scared that one of them would get one of these lasers in the eye and just go absolutely bonkers and tear up all those kids that were on the pitch with the flags. I was terrified. I thought this is gonna go wrong.
That's quite a peculiar kind of anxiety, isn't it? That you're worried about the not the what else would happen, but it's just the kids with the flags that they're the ones that are going to get hurt. Um, I think that one of the things that did come out, sort of watching it, was Tony Clubb as well. A couple of times he got very close to being late on the kicker. What did you make of that one?
The late on the kicker, even the kicker didn't think he was late. He got up and seemed to acknowledge that he was being tackled as he kicked it. It was a fair challenge. It was only Benny Westwood who wanted to ring the bell on that one. So yeah, I don't know how much the TV coverage made of it because I haven't put
The
myself
first
through
one,
watching
the
it
first
back.
one, they weren't too sort of. They sort of went over quite sick because the first one I think was actually probably worse in terms of how relative he was. I think, but both of them, I think he had no chance. You could see he was clearly committed to the tackle at that point. There was no way he was going to
Well,
pull out.
by the first one, do you mean the one where Roberts feigned injury to win a
Yeah,
penalty?
yeah.
Yeah,
And then there was
that one.
the one
Right.
sort of yeah, the one late,
Yeah, and the one on deck
yeah,
pattern.
the
Yeah.
one on pattern that looked worse in when it was being played live. It looked worse, but then when you watched it back, you could see he was much more committed in that one than he was in the first one.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It was a hard one to take on that penalty because you see a lot of um, late-ish tackles that are later than that one. They never showed it in real speed on the replays, which might have given you a better context if it wasn't that late. And if not Ben Roberts, Tyrone Roberts hadn't been down holding his ankle, then I don't think a penalty would have even been given for that instance. To be perfectly honest, I'm glad one wasn't given for the second instance. The referee was obviously a talking point for Wigan fans. Now I'm no ref faulter, and I'm certainly not going to say that the referee caused this game to go one way or the other because I believe this game went the way it did because Warrington were the better team for 60 minutes.
And I think what that was actually was where the wire kicking game. I think that it was the kicking game and the control they were able to get through that was just able to get them that as much as anything else. It was able to settle them, which was able to get them on the front foot.
They had a much better platform as well, didn't they, for most of the game? They really did take that first sort of kick off. Well, sorry, wait, let me get this right. Wigan took the first kick off, and Warrington came at them hard with great line speed, and Wigan really did get out of their own end, and that set the tone for the rest of the first half. Wigan were kicking from their own 30-metre line and 30-40 metre line, and then Warrington were starting the set on their own 40-metre line, and Wigan were constantly under pressure, and that was because Warrington had a better attitude in the first half of this game. I'm not going to blame jet lag and those sorts of things because it was our own fault for going down under and trying to earn some money and raise some profile for the club and gain some sponsorship income and all those things, and they are positives overall. I would say one loss to Warrington doesn't undo all of that because it's a game we in theory could have lost anyway. The refereeing decisions that annoyed me was that Liam Marshall got pushed out of the way at marker, but he was allowed to play on, and Warrington scored a try 2 tackles later. But in the second half, Warrington were given a crucial penalty at the time because they were not looking like scoring another try. They were given a penalty for John Bateman taking out the marker in very much the same fashion that Mitch Brown had done on Liam Marshall. Yet all of a sudden that was a penalty to the defending side that Bryson Goodwin spotted. And there was a penalty given against John Bateman for a tackle in the air on Bryson Goodwin when he was competing for the ball, but he was never actually going to get through Bryson Goodwin to the ball, and he did make contact. However, Bryson Goodwin made contact with Morgan Escaray on his head in the air when he was jumping for a ball to make it look like he was competing, and he was never actually going to get the ball. So it did feel like there was a few inconsistencies, and I don't say that that's because of the referee being biased. I'd say that that was because Warrington was so dominant physically in this game that you tend to find penalties like 50-50 calls like those. The referee is caught up in the event as
Yeah,
well, and he's seeing that one side are completely outperforming the other side in everywhere other than the scoreboard. For me, though, for Warrington, I left this game actually feeling like Wigan are going to be okay. We've seen them play a lot better in attack in the first 2 games than they played in this game, create a lot more chances at least. So I wasn't too worried about that because I know we've had no training sessions all week. Warrington, though, were very much like last year, apart from the fact that they scraped the win. So that's the positive for them, that they scraped the win. But basically, they had a high tackle success, they had a lot of meters, but they were the worst team close to their own line and close to the opposition line. They wasted chances, and Wigan scored 2 tries in the limited time that actually Wigan spent in the Wire end, but Wire were the better
The
team for
one
sure.
thing that you probably didn't see as much in the ground as you could see on the endless TV replays was on the Liam Marshall try. It looked like his top leg might just have faded into touch because it definitely looked when he was in that sort of float bit when he was in the air, like the top leg was possibly more in touch than the bottom leg, which was the one they were sort of more fixated on. But you probably didn't see that as well from it actually in the ground.
Well, they don't show the replays, do they, on the Sky screens this year for video replays. At Warrington, they have a second screen that you could see it on, but it was so far away that, yeah, there was no way of telling. It did look, though, that he came out of that limping, like
Yeah,
Ross Brown had done a bit of an ankle twist on him, and that didn't get talked about, I'm imagining.
it did. It did eventually, but it was once they'd calmed down on everything else as usual with Sky.
But to be honest, yeah, it was a narrow try to score, and Wigan didn't deserve to finish this game so close based on the whole pattern of play, apart from the 10 metres from each try line, which I don't think we had a play of the ball in the first half. So they should have been out of sight. Warrington. They played well in the middle. They had much better line speed, much better kick chase, much better intensity. Wigan's kicking game reverted to last year, finding men all the time, kicking off the back foot, no platform being set. It wasn't what we've seen from Wigan so far before that.
No, I think that's us done on that one. Should we move on to Cass against Hull?
Yeah, this was on Saturday afternoon. A lot of people enjoying the fact that there was Saturday afternoon Sky coverage double header. Castleford won this one 28 points to 18 against Hull FC in front of 9,365, refereed by Chris Kendall.
Starting off with your views then at Swiss_cowboy_78. Cass misses the start but got too strong for Hull with time. I will sue both club for getting eye cancer. Orange and pink FFS, that hurts.
Tyler Casvan said, happy with the 2 points against a good Hull team who really came at us in the first half hour. We stayed in the game and gradually our processes began to bear fruit and wear Hull down. Not so reliant on our left edge this year as Jamie Ellis is working well on the right with McMeekin, Webster and Minikin. On to the next
At
one.
DG Knight. Now then, lads, thanks for keeping the show going. Jamie Ellis ran the show for me. Things looked a lot more like Cass of last year than the two previous games, though still plenty of mistakes. Hope we can build on this.
Fat Boy Rob said, for 15 glorious minutes, Cass looked like the 2017 version. If Shenny had kept hold of that ball just before FC scored, it could have been a real shoo-in. Overall, Cass looked better with Roberts looking more like a Cass-style fullback in attack and only dropping one ball in defence. Wardle had a solid debut before going off injured. The pack looked fitter. I predict that Cass will become back-to-back champions. Come on, you forward. Well, they weren't champions, Rob. Shut your mouth.
Ooh, here we go. Right, okay. Moving swiftly on. Sarah said that dominant first 20 to 25 minutes for Hull, but we failed to put points on the board and then capitulated once Cass started scoring. Everything Cass chanced came off. Only positive us was Mickey Payer's performance.
Yeah, in terms of the stats, the team stats, errors and penalties hit Hull hard in this game. There was a 14-7 error count and an 8-6 penalty count going against them, and it meant Cass had 53 more carries in the game, and Hull had to work really hard as a result, making 136 more tackles as a team. So despite a 1.4 metre per carry better average gain and a huge 4.8% better team tackle success rate, numbers that would normally spell a win, Hull lost this one. Castleford made more metres and had a huge 10-3 clean break count, and they converted those chances for 5 tries. Individually, Jamie Ellis got a couple of mentions there from the listeners, and so he should, with 3 try assists. Paul McShane worked hard in defence, 40 tackles, 10 marker tackles. Jake Webster, try assist, 103 metres, 2 clean breaks. And Junior Moores, 5 tackle bus, 110 metres for the losing Hull side. They are getting excited about Burrito Ferramo, the burrito, and 1 try, 6 tackle balls, 111 metres, 2 clean breaks. He showed his wares in this one. Mickey Payer got a mention from Scoots, and he did perform well. He grabbed a try, which was well deserved, and 127 metres. Dean Hadley in hooker, doing his best Danny Houghton impression with a try assist and 56 tackles. And Liam Watts also made 42 tackles in this one. I think the fan reviews kind of covered it. Cass did have a really good spell either side of half time, which really kind of sealed the game for them in this one. Hull FC's start showed the weaknesses that are there in this year's Cast side. I mean, Mark Sneed's try, he basically ran through an entire half of that side, which would be worrying for Castleford because they didn't have weak